Have you ever wondered how a revolutionary who fought tooth and nail against capitalism ended up on t-shirts sold in pretty much every shopping mall? Well, today we're going to unravel the incredible paradox of Che Guevara and figure out how a man with a very specific and, let's be honest, often brutal political ideology became a global brand. I mean, you've seen this face everywhere, right? It's become this universal symbol of rebellion, of defiance, maybe even a certain kind of coolness. But what does it actually represent? And how did this one image become so much bigger than the man himself? That is the big question, isn't it? How did a hardcore Marxist militant become a fashion statement? To really get the myth, we have to start with the man and the messy reality of his life's work. So long before the t-shirts and the posters, who was the real Che Guevara? Well, after the Cuban Revolution in 1959, he wasn't just some soldier. He was a major player in Fidel Castro's government. And let's just say his time in power was complicated. And we're not talking about some ceremonial role here. He was basically the architect of Cuba's brand new socialist economy. He held two of the most powerful positions in the entire government. This was his shot to build his utopian vision from the ground up. And this is right where Che's ideals just crashed headfirst into reality. He genuinely believed that people would work harder for the good of the revolution, not for money. He called this moral incentives. The result? It was a complete and utter disaster. Productivity just plummeted, and Cuba's economy went into a total nosedive. His state-controlled economy was a bureaucratic nightmare. Seriously, think of a factory making thousands of left shoes, but no right ones. It was that bad. He was so ideologically rigid that he even criticized the Soviet Union for being too capitalist, which, as you can probably guess, did not go over well with the country that was bankrolling Cuba. So, after things didn't exactly pan out managing the Cuban economy, Che wasn't done, not by a long shot. In 1965, he left to go back to what he saw as his true calling, spreading Marxist revolution all across the globe. And this is where the story just takes a really tragic turn. In the span of just 2 years, Che goes from this revolutionary icon to a hunted man. His dreams of a worldwide revolution just ended in this string of failures and ultimately his own death. So, what went so wrong? His first target was the Congo. He had this grand vision of igniting a revolution across the entire continent, but he was completely out of his depth. The local fighters he was supposed to lead were uninspired, the people really didn't want a foreign leader telling them what to do, and the CIA-backed government crushed his rebellion pretty easily. And listen, Che knew it was a disaster. He managed to escape, but the whole experience was just this crushing blow. His own assessment of his entire African adventure? A single, devastating word: tragedy. But he was undeterred. He tried again, this time in Bolivia, where he basically made all the same fatal errors. The local peasants didn't trust him. They actually reported him to the authorities. He was cut off from any support from Cuba, hunted by the Bolivian army with direct help from the CIA. His small band of fighters was just doomed from the start. And now, we get to the ultimate irony in this whole story. In October 1967, Che Guevara was captured and executed. But his death, it wasn't the end. Not at all. In a weird way, it was the beginning. It was the birth of his legend. His death was the perfect catalyst for a myth. He was transformed from this failed guerrilla leader into a martyr for the cause. His image was immortalized in that single powerful photograph. And then, the youth movements of the late 1960s, who were hungry for a hero, turned him into a global symbol of rebellion. And this is the photo that changed everything. Guerrero heroico. It was actually taken years before his death, but that intense, defiant stare, it captured an idea, a feeling that would far outlive the man and all of his very real failures. To all the protesting students and youth of the 1960s, he was the ultimate romantic revolutionary. He was handsome, fearless, a man who died for what he believed in. All the messy, complicated, and violent details of his past, they were just erased. Okay, and now for the final, and maybe the most bizarre twist in this story, how the ultimate anti-capitalist became a superstar of the very system he hated. The symbol was just too powerful, and let's be real, too profitable to ignore. His image, completely stripped of its complex and violent political meaning, became pure merchandise. His face now sells everything from t-shirts and posters to coffee mugs and even perfume, making millions for the very capitalists he fought to overthrow. You just can't make this stuff up. And that right there is the heart of the paradox laid out for us. The reality of Che Guevara was a man who oversaw a series of profound failures. But the symbol? He's a martyr, a fashion icon, a generic rebel. The man was completely and totally replaced by the myth. So, what's the bottom line here? It's pretty simple, actually. He failed at nearly everything he tried to do in his life, both as an administrator and as a revolutionary. But in death, as an image, as a symbol, he became one of the most successful and enduring icons in history. So, what does this whole story of Che Guevara tell us about ourselves? Maybe it's about our need for heroes, our love of a simple story, and maybe our willingness to overlook a messy truth for a simple, powerful image. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? When we turn a person into a symbol, what essential parts of them, what parts of the truth do we lose along the way?